is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media Incorporated. An NFL team gives up 70 points in a game?
Stop it. Get some help.
Next on Total Football Talk. Welcome to Total Football Talk. Hard-hitting, grinding news and fun the way you like it. I am one of the co-hosts of this program, Cole Johnson, a.k.a. the Mad Scientist and EP Extraordinaire. And I am joined, as always, by the other co-host of this program, Mr. Commander's Grind Report, D. Willie, a.k.a. Drew Willingham. How you doing, man?
Doing great, brother. Glad to be back here on another episode for episode 4 of today. And you know, today is also another special day. In or Out Sports Debate is back tonight at 9:35 p.m. Eastern time for episode 101. It is back. So you can call me all sorts of different things now that we got so many projects going on in 1 week. But this is definitely at the top of the list. I'm ready to rock and roll for this one.
Congratulations, man. I am happy for you. For many different reasons, but I'm definitely happy for that because I love In or Out. And so I'm glad you're cranking that back up. But speaking of cranking things up, let's get to these past week's action. The opening drive, shall we, please?
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Quick!
So we will start with the Thursday night affair, which pitted the Giants going to Santa Clara to play the 49ers, and it pretty much was not a game. Although, I'll give credit to the Giants, it was 17-12 early in the fourth quarter, but the 49ers cruised to a 30-12 victory due to Brock Purdy going over 300 yards, passing for the first time this year, throwing for 2 touchdowns as well. Deebo Samuel helping him out with 129 receiving yards and a touchdown. And that 49ers defense holding the Giants to 150 total yards on offense. Your impressions of this game, sir?
You know, both sides definitely played different style of football. You know, the only thing I will have to say positively about the Giants is Micah McFadden. So Micah McFadden, he had 9 tackles and 1 assist on a sack. So when I think about everything that happened with this game right here, you know, you have the Giants who have been playing like dumpster Pelicans since they came out the gate. You know, you think about that first week game they had against the Cowboys getting smacked around, right? And then it came back a little bit in week 2, but then of course we couldn't expect so much going against the San Francisco 49ers for this week.
Right.
Brock Purdy has been showing that he was definitely working hard on rehabilitating during the offseason to get back to the caliber level of play that he was at last year. I feel like he still has a little bit of ways to go because we really haven't seen much as far as passing yards from Brock Purdy until this game. You know, he did eclipse 310. He did get 310 yards. But to me, after seeing the way that he played last year, it's not Brock Purdy-esque. But when I think about the Giants, you played that clip for the Dolphins, but I'm going to play it for the Giants too.
Stop it. Get some help.
Because you need help. Get some help out here in these streets, bro, because you need it.
They do. considering the Giants did play this game with Saquon Barkley, and I did hear it on the street that when the Cowboys beat them 40-0, that basically the Cowboys beat Saquon Barkley and a bag of chips. So yes, I understand that clip is actually apropos. And kudos to Nick Bosa. He got his first sack of the year after holding out and getting his money. Well, it looks like it's paying dividends already. More power to them. Of course, we'll touch on who both teams will play in later this episode. Let's go to Sunday, shall we? And the 1 p.m. games. The Browns, they did their number. I'm sorry. I'm doing this all wrong. The Browns did their number 27-3 over the Titans. The Browns defense, they did their thing. They held the Titans to 94 yards of total offense, but it really wasn't them. It was this man. Come here, baby. Yeah, you know I gotta get a tug. I get a celebration tug. Towel, girl, towel. Come on, you know the towel. There we go. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Yeah. Now sit down. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. We're recording. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
Hey, whatever he's got to do to not turn over the football, because he didn't do that. He didn't do that. So I guess those rub and tugs you're talking about are helping out for Deshaun Watson, because the man had 2 touchdowns, was only 11 yards shy of getting to 300 yards. You know, the Browns defense held the Titans, like you said, to 94 yards of total offense. So the defense is stepping up. They are showing up and shelling out this time. The Browns are for real when it comes to their defense. They are not dropping a number 2 when they come out there to play their defense, like you were alluding to when you started this one, that I almost lost it when you were starting this one out. But when I think of Deshaun Watson, he's definitely improving each and every time he's going out there. It seems like he still has a ways to go, but whatever he's got to do behind the scenes, just keep it kosher out there on those tables.
Well, I will say this about the Browns defense. They've only given up 3 points against the Bengals, 3 points against the Titans, and 12 points against the Steelers. I know you're going to say, well, Cole, they lost that game 26-12 or 26-22. That's correct. But those touchdowns came on pick sixes. So you scratch those 2 pick sixes from the equation, the Browns only gave up 4 field goals. So they have done their thing this year, and if the Browns defense keeps going, the AFC North, they better watch out.
And historically great teams in the past, you could have mediocre play from your quarterback, but a great defense, and it'll still take you places. Yeah. AKA the Ravens, that first Super Bowl they had, Trent Dilfer as the quarterback. So, and Deshaun Watson is better than Trent Dilfer. And I'm not saying that the Browns are going to go to the Super Bowl this year, because we always have that running joke of the past, take the Browns Super Bowl. They can go at some point. It's just not their time. You still have to get through the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC as the top dog team before you would consider you as an elite team in the AFC.
Ooh, you're not lying about that. You're not lying about that. Let's get some comments real quick before we head on. Melvin, what's up? Melvin Turismo in the house. He says, TFT is back. That's right. And in the flesh, homie. We're glad to see you on board. Cool. Cole McCain says, gentlemen, cool. I know you happy from the result from last night. We will definitely talk about your Eagles, as he says, hashtag fly Eagles fly. Victory Tuesday. Yeah, we're going to talk about your Eagles. No question about that. Mickey Delaney. What's up, Mickey? How you doing, man? He says, afternoon, Drew Willingham. Afternoon, Cool McCain. Well, it is good to see you on board.
The comment cop is back in the house. Mickey Delaney, pull him back up here again, Cole. Pull him back up here. I got to give a shout to Mickey Delaney. Mickey Delaney is one of the big supporters for Satoba Media and even Snowman out there for Snowman Multimedia. We refer to him as the comment cop. He is the man. He has been gone for quite some time, had to be on hiatus, but he is back. Glad to have you back in the comments, Mick.
All right. And to our brother Snowman, it is great to see you here. He says, bang, bang, Niner game. If you don't know, he is a huge 49ers fan. And yes, you have a lot to celebrate considering that your 49ers are 3-0, my friend. And their next opponent, we'll talk about that later. But I think you know what we're about to say on that one. The Lions, they feasted on the Falcons as the Falcons played their first road game of the year and put forth a paltry performance. They lost this game 20-6. The Lions defense, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, 7 sacks. The defense has come to play. It looks like they have turned that around from last year. Your thoughts, sir?
I think it's safe to say they are biting those kneecaps, Cole. They are coming out. They are ready to rock and roll. They are smacking teams around. And Atlanta Falcons had all that hype coming into this past weekend because they were 2-0. Well, congratulations on going 2-0. All right. The Detroit Lions deserve to be 2-0 before coming into this week, and they deserve to be 3-0 at this point. However, they've showcased they are the team that's definitely superior over the Falcons when it came to this contest right here, and definitely humbled them in some ways, I believe. Because Desmond Ridder still did pretty good. I mean, overall, he didn't have any turnovers. I mean, he didn't have any touchdowns either. But hey, when I think about that, there's promise there. That's still better than Marcus Mariota. So, way better, way better. But Jared Goff in the Lions, it's tough to even say that with Jared Goff because he still had a turnover in that game. But he did have a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown, so he did contribute towards that win. I can't put so much shade on Jared Goff for this game. They at least did their jobs and got the win here.
Yeah, he did. And kudos to Aiden Hutchinson. 2 of those sacks belong to him. And it looks like the Lions might be known for having these types of games more than the shutouts they had last year. Ooh. And we will definitely touch on their game later on. The Saints and the Packers. I'll put it this way. The Saints were up 17-0 going into fourth quarter, and they left Lambeau Field with an L. They take the L 18-17 because the Packers scored 18 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. Unfortunately, the big news of this would be Derek Carr. He went out in the, third quarter, I believe, with a shoulder injury. And even though Jameis Winston did a job in replacement, the team just wasn't the same. Your thoughts, sir?
Jameis will finally probably get his time to really prove if he can hack it in the NFL or not, because he's had, he's had some subpar play over the past few seasons with the Saints, which is why he wasn't given the keys when Drew Brees, initially retired. So now he has come in and played some decent cleanup duty in situations where the quarterbacks have gotten hurt. But it's weird because it seems like in the games that they get hurt and he comes into play, he does decent for that one game or maybe the next game. But then he starts to show old Jameis self. You got to be concerned if you're the New Orleans Saints, if you have to lean on Jameis for quite some time this year, because he's proven in the past that he just can't quite get it done in situations. And in this situation right here, he didn't, as they lost the 1-point game. Granted, it came down to a field goal at the end, and it was the tightest game of the week. But 18-17, a close game like that, if you're going to be, an elite type of team that brings in Derek Carr, or a team that you think is going to be good enough to bring in Derek Carr and still make a run, and then he goes down, you're just proving that you don't have the pieces around it if Jameis can't even get a win in an 18-17 game over a first-year quarterback in Jordan Love.
Yeah. Their last drive was a good case in point for you. They could not get the one play they needed to execute to actually move the ball down the field the way they should have, and then they missed the field goal to actually have them win it. So, you got to execute. That is most important. And you were spot on about Jameis Winston, because yes, when he mops up in the game, he actually does play well. But when someone gets footage of him,
That's terrible.
you were 100% correct, sir. Ooh, man, could not. Patriots Jets 15-10. How can I describe this game? Oh, here I describe it this way. That game was bowling shoe ugly. I mean, it was a case of Mac Jones, and I'll let you say his nickname, doing
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese, doing but not making the big mistake. And you have Zach Wilson, who completed 50% of his passes in that game. The one stat to take away: the Patriots have beaten the Jets now for the 15th straight meeting. Your thoughts, sir?
Had what happened in week 1 not taken place, and that number 1 quarterback for that team that was brought in over the offseason was still here, that streak would have ended this weekend. Like
I
that,
agree.
that would have ended this weekend. Now, unfortunately, we can't say the whole shoulda, woulda, coulda because it did not take place, and we had what happened in that week 1. But it also is just more reassurance that Zach Wilson is definitely not the answer at quarterback for New York, but also on top of that, not the answer at backup quarterback. Because at backup quarterback, you got to have somebody that's at least a journeyman that you can trust. It's going to come in, know the system, and be able to carry, or not carry, but still plug within the team to help get it over the hump to get a victory, even if it's in like an 18-17 game like the Packers and the Saints. In this game right here, where you have as close of a game as you have, a 15-10 game, there's no excuse for you to go the first 3 quarters with only 3 points and scoring that touchdown in the final quarter of the game, because it just goes to show that 18-36 for 157 yards, that is absolute dumpster Pelican status when you are Zach Wilson. Okay.
Oh, no, I'm out.
Do it. Yes. Zach Wilson. He's the big one right there in the far right, the back of the other one. He's the biggest of them all, the tallest dumpster Pelican. That is Zach Wilson. That's how I feel about him. So you gotta get some answers. And Colin Kaepernick, of course, is not it, because he's been out of football for too long. And there's nobody out there that's a free agent in my mind that's good enough to plug in for the New York Jets and save this season. If anything, you might as well tank at this point, because you can get a good pick to help Aaron Rodgers out next year. I don't know, but that's just how I feel about it. Unless you make a change at quarterback, there's no hope, because 10 points scored in a game against any team is not going to get you a win.
And 10 points against a team that you should mollywop is even worse of an example of what you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. And yes, for those who should say, yeah, Colin Kaepernick or Cam Newton should be on this team to be the starting quarterback for the Jets.
Ain't nobody care. Who cares? Ain't nobody care.
Nobody care. This one I'm doing for my partner. Bills went to Landover and they mollywopped the Commanders 37-3. Now, I'm not feeling good about it, because I don't have a horse in the race. But I will definitely stand up and applaud for that Bills defense. They gave you 5 turnovers, 4 of them picks, and they sacked Sam Howell 9 times. Now, I will also give credit to the fact that the Bills almost had a 100-yard rushing James Cook. They had a 100-yard receiving Stephon Diggs. And Josh Allen, he threw for over 200 yards. He did have a mistake, because he did turn the ball over with the pick. But a team win all the way around. Your thoughts, sir?
You could definitely place a lot of blame on Sam Howell, because he turned the ball over 4 times. He threw 4 interceptions. He threw interceptions in week 1 and then came back week 2, had learned from his mistakes and had got the victory again and started out 2-0. And then we see this game, and then Antonio Gibson also had a fumble as well. So there were 5 total turnovers by the Commanders on offense. I broke this down in the Commanders Gridiron Report yesterday, especially going hard in on some key factors with this, because there's a lot of bad play overall when it comes to the offense, and it all stems from a problem that we've seen for many years now, and that's the offensive line. He doesn't have hardly any time to think, okay? If you had 0.8 or 0.9 seconds, less than a second, to make a decision, and you're doing what you're doing, of course you're going to have several turnovers. Now, I would count 2 of those turnovers to that. There were 2 of those other 4 turnovers that he should not have even thrown the ball, because that last one, if you saw that 4th interception, he was literally standing like this in front of the guy and plays hot potato and throws it into his hands for that 4th one. And what he did to do that was he had to run away from a failing offensive line that was blocking for him to get outside the pocket and throw that football. But then he still made a bad decision. So a lot of
Yes.
that comes with youth. A lot of that comes with
Mhm.
the offensive line. And I place
Mhm.
some of the blame on Ronald Eugene Rivera. And yes, I just played a student of the
Oh,
game, Kyle
no.
Nash card, calling him his whole
Oh,
name. Ronald
no.
Eugene Rivera, this all stems on you. Get out of there and come on in, Eric B. Let's get some ships.
Oh, no. He went full government on his head coach's name. Oh, my. But yes, look, every team has these types of games, and I 100% agree with you. I don't put it all on Howell, but yeah, he could have helped the team out by not throwing as many interceptions. But yeah, if you don't have a line that's going to protect you, you're going to have your quarterback have wonderful pitter patter, scared feet, and they will have that scared feet transfer up to his head, and he will make decisions that he wouldn't otherwise do if he felt more confident in the pocket. So yeah, I agree with you, and credit to the Bills front of putting the pressure on the Commanders' offensive line to rush and harry, uh, uh, you know, Howell to make the mistakes that he did make.
Hey, we always give praise when the quarterback throws to multiple different receivers, right? At least
Mhm.
4 different defensive players picked him off.
You was gonna say that.
Hey, at least he had 4 different receivers there, and Terrell Bernard also had a fumble recovery too, so he had 2 of those 5 turnovers with the other one from Gibson. But hey, 4 different receivers on the other side. I gotta give him credit for that one.
Oh my. Hopefully the Commanders will bounce back. I get the feeling Cool will say otherwise, but hey, who knows?
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
We will talk about that in a little bit, definitely. Now, I came this close to debuting something that I was going to, but I'm not going to do it in this game. The Texans beat down the Jaguars 37-17. CJ Stroud, who has kept a wonderful uh, lid on turnovers. He has not turned the ball over once in 3 games. He threw for 280 yards, threw for 2 touchdowns, and it looks like the Texans may have found their kickoff returner in the fullback Andrew Beck in a muff squib kick. He returned the ball 85 yards for a touchdown. Uh, all right, fine. The Jaguars had Travis Etienne gain 88 yards on the ground, so I'll give the Jaguars credit. But I will say this: they had no business losing to the Texans at all, much less by 20 in their home stadium. Your thoughts, sir?
Hey, from one Andrew to another government-wise, good job on that return there, brother. You did a great job. I loved it. Now, Kyle Nash, you and I are going to be getting up next week for 102 of In or Out, and I'm going to be asking you this question either in the green room before or after this show. How did it feel to get beat
Ugh.
down by the Houston Texans, a
Oh,
team that has been playing like dumpster Pelicans for quite some time until they get CJ Stroud, and you still have a dumpster Pelican-esque team around you because you've got some
mm.
issues on the lines on both defensive and offensive that you need to address, in my opinion. But you showed up in this game, but it shows some cracks within the foundation of the Jaguars as well. And that's the biggest thing that I want to talk to Kyle about, because the Houston Texans are not a good enough team to be beating you by 20 points, and especially
No.
scoring 37 on that defense of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had all the praise in the offseason, who made the playoffs last year. You're going to praise Trevor Lawrence. He's a great god of a young quarterback, yet you lose to the Texans by 20 points. I got to give credit where it's due, and it's definitely not on the Jaguars in this game.
Well, it looks like that the Texans may be the Jaguars' kryptonite, I guess. This is actually the Jaguars' 5th straight loss against the Texans and the 10th in the last 11 matchups between them. I
Wow.
don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand what the Texans have over the Jaguars, because I will say this here as a Texans fan, and you know this, Kyle Nash. As a Texans fan, the Jaguars are a better team than the Texans. Unfortunately, Sunday they did not prove it, and that's unfortunate. Now, probably to the game of the 1 o'clock slate, the Colts and the Ravens in M&T Bank Stadium. This game went in overtime, and the Ravens had a chance to convert on a 4th down, but they turned the ball over to the Colts, and they kicked the field goal to win the game 22-19. Balance, I guess you could say, is the best way to put it. The Colts defense had 4 sacks. They got 2 turnovers. Zach Moss, who ran the ball in place of Jonathan Taylor, he gained 122 yards, which unfortunately this might spell the end totally with him on the Colts. The Ravens defense, they got 5 sacks. And Lamar Jackson, he passed for 200 yards, over 200 yards, I should say, but didn't throw a touchdown, but he ran for 2 and gained 101 yards. I'm not liking that. But your thoughts, sir?
My man, Uncle Rico, showed up in this game as the quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Came in there, long hair and all. Got to give him credit because I am a fellow person with long hair. No, it looks like with this little head cover right here and the stuff, I cut it. But no, it is still long. So from one long-haired person to another, Uncle Rico, I'm proud of you coming out there and leading that Colts team that had definitely, and I know I said it in the last segment, but I'm going to say it here, played like a dumpster pelican definitely for quite some years because you had Carson Wentz and everything that was going on and Matt Ryan. Yes, Matt Ryan is the third dumpster pelican in the back. Even though he's not playing, he's still part of this crew. That's Matt Ryan right there. Carson Wentz is such a small one. Even though he plays like a big dumpster pelican, he's itty-bitty. We'll get back to the definitions of those dumpster pelicans later. But when I think about this team, the Colts coming into this game against the Ravens, many people were saying the Ravens are going to beat this team and the Colts right here. And Lamar Jackson thought so too when you see the look on his face at the end of that game when that field goal was kicked. Yeah.
He was heartbroken.
When the Colts kicked that field goal, you see Uncle Rico celebrating and you see Lamar Jackson with that look on his face. He was really mad. So I got to give it to the Colts here for their game planning. Shane Steichen for coming here and doing the things they needed to do to get the win.
Agreed.
But it's definitely unexpected because we were not talking about this kind of a game going this way last week.
No, we weren't. And we did not think the Colts was going to hang. Forget when. We really didn't think they were going to hang with the Ravens like they did, but they did. They pushed the issue, and they were the better team on Sunday. Credit to you. And looks like I think they are ruling the roost in the AFC South? Oh my gosh. No. Say it ain't so.
It's only 3 weeks.
Well, I know, but still. I mean, you have a 1-2 Titans team, a 1-2 Texas team, and a 1-2 Jaguars team. I mean, hey.
Look at what Kevin McAllister's doing with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely going to talk about them a little later. Oh, my gosh, really? Goodness gracious. All right, to the late slate. And we start with the Seahawks getting their second win of the year, their first in Lumen Field, which that sounds strange since they played 2 games there. But they beat up on the Panthers 37-27. Andy Dalton for the Panthers. He threw 58 passes in the game, starting in lieu of Bryce Young, who injured himself in last Monday night's game against the Saints. The Seahawks, they gained 146 yards on the ground. Geno Smith came this close to getting 300 yards through the air. He threw a pick, but he did throw a touchdown. Your thoughts on this game?
On top of that, Adam Thielen with 11 receptions, 145 yards, averaging over 13 yards per catch with a touchdown. That was a great stat right there because, that's like Minnesota Vikings Adam Thielen right there. You wouldn't have thought that to see this type of game, and especially against the Seahawks, because people still think of the Seahawks of the past, Legion of Boom, even though we haven't seen that for quite some time. When you see Seahawks, you still think of them as more of an established team. They're going to beat down on this Panthers team. I thought this game was going to be a little bit more lopsided. I didn't think they were going to win by only 10 points because the Panthers still had a chance to win this game at several points towards the end of the game. I mean, Andy Dalton, like you said, 58 pass attempts. 58 mother-father pass attempps. Only completed 34 of those. But hey, he's been sitting on the bench for quite some time. He came out there and said, I'm going to throw it. I'm throwing it. And I'm throwing it. And you get a pass. And you get a pass. And you get a pass. And they're actually catching them, which was surprising too. But,
gosh.
Unfortunately, the Seahawks came away with the dub. and that's just how it happened for Carolina. But hey, they came out there swinging. I have to give them credit. They did score 27 points.
Yeah. So I mean, they showed fight, and I think that is all you could say. I mean, and I think that's all you could hope for on a team that's young and is putting their hopes on the shoulders of a rookie QB. Although he did not play in this game because he was injured. But yeah, I mean, that's all you can hope for: fight and some type of grit. And they did. Unfortunately, they fell 10 points short, but it was on the road, so you have that. But 58 pass attempts. Jeez. Now, I would make this a bowling shoe ugly game, but we saw Taylor Swift in the stands, or I should say, we saw her in the owner suite as the Chiefs in Arrowhead pounced on the Bears and beat them down 41-10. It actually was 41-0 early in the third quarter. The Chiefs, as a team, passed for over 300 yards. Mahomes, I think, passed for over 270 of those, and he threw for 2 touchdowns. They also got 153 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns on the ground, and I loved to see that from them. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, just when we give so much shade to the backup quarterback in New York being Zach Wilson, I think the Chiefs really need to take a look at their backup quarterback being in Blaine Gabbert. If something happened to Mahomes and Blaine Gabbert came in there and you had to rely on him for the rest of the season, there's no way you're going to have a great season the rest of the year. Okay, so with what happened, because Chad Henne retired after last year's Super Bowl, because I mean he's been around for so long. So now you have Blaine Gabbert. You definitely are seeing why he wasn't the man in Jacksonville and all the other places he's been ever since, because of what he did. 35 yards, 2 interceptions after he came in the third quarters. Like you said, Chiefs are up 41-0. But of course, the other team's going to be able to score 10 points when you get a pass for an interception and you get a pass for an interception, is what was happening from Blaine Gabbert. So when I think about the play of the backup quarterback, you got to reevaluate that if you want to have a chance to have a good plan B.
I 100% agree with you there. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. Unfortunately, that's something that they might have to put front of mind, because before halftime, we did see Mahomes limp a bit. So, yes, Blaine Gabbert, Mr. Nash, paging Mr. Nash, paging Kyle Nash. Tell us about how wonderful of a quarterback Blaine Gabbert is, because I know you saw him as a Jaguars fan. I'm sorry. Yes, that is something that they would have to shore up, because he is not the dude. But hey, the Chiefs got to win. They're 2-1 now. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to present the upset of the week. And that upset is the Cowboys rolling their helmets onto the University of Phoenix Stadium and getting trounced 28-16, and the game was not even that close. The score was not indicative of how that game went. Although the Cowboys did have a wonderful rushing effort from Tony Pollard, 122 yards. He unfortunately did not get into the end zone once. You can also throw in a 249-yard pass performance from Mr. Dak Prescott. He did throw a touchdown, but now he is 9 interceptions away from his promise of not being true, of saying he's going to throw less than 10 interceptions this year. So the countdown's on, son. You got 9 more to throw, and you will throw those 9 and then some. I'm sorry. Let me get back on track here. The Cardinals, 2 touchdowns on the ground and 222 yards against a defense that people thought was seriously either 1985 Bears or 2000 Ravens-esque 2 weeks ago. Your thoughts, sir?
Running games definitely, when they're at that type of strength with that amount of rushing yards and that amount of scoring, would definitely take you places. It's been proven in the past. You got to have a great running game, and that will never change in a game of football, ever.
Yes,
Maybe the pay scale will change, but that will never change. On top of that, Kaiser White of the defense for the Cardinals had that interception as well. So when you have the combination of great running game and your defense is playing pretty well, you can
Mhm.
afford to have a backup quarterback throw for 189 yards and only one touchdown pass in order to get you the win. The importance here is that your backup quarterback didn't turn the ball over here. That definitely helped you out. And the fact the Cardinals had played some decent competition those first 2 weeks, including the Commanders, that helped them get
Mhm.
primed and ready for this type of matchup in week 3. Had they
Mhm.
had 2 easy matchups or played in 2 toilet bowl type of weeks and didn't
Mhm.
really play competition, I think they would have got smacked around like the Giants did in week 1. But this proves right here, this team is built pretty well for Kyler Murray to be there. If Kyler Murray was there, wasn't playing video games and getting hurt, okay, and it was there, we would see a Cardinals team that could compete out here each and every week and keep things interesting. But unfortunately, we have to deal with the backup quarterback situation who isn't really producing many numbers. We'll give him credit, though. He's playing smart, not turning the ball over, and that's why they beat the Cowboys this past weekend.
Yes, Joshua Dobbs took care of business and took it all. And that's really all you can say. And you agree with that, huh, LA?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you would. I thought you would. The Sunday night game we go. The Steelers beat up on the Raiders 23-18. Oh, good God. I got to work on my professionalism. I'm sorry, Drew. 23-17, the Steelers beat the Raiders. Kenny Pickett, 235 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Devontae Adams for the Raiders got 172 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. But the Steelers basically put this game out of reach somewhere in the third quarter, and they just sat on 23 for pretty much the rest of the second half. Your thoughts, sir?
I think that out of all the high-profile players who will potentially be moved, I think Devontae Adams gets traded this season.
Yeah.
I think you don't have any other choice. Look at those type of numbers. They can get
Mhm.
some decent capital in return for him as well, and he needs to go somewhere where he's happy. You let go of his guy that he came there for. The only reason for was
Mhm.
Derek Carr. Okay, he doesn't want to be there. He's already saying publicly about he doesn't want to see eye to eye. You lose a game like this, Jimmy G. The way he's playing
Mhm.
in this game right here, 324 yards. He threw the ball pretty well as far as yards, but he turned the ball over 3 times.
3 times.
You take away those 3 interceptions, they're in that game. They're winning that game because they only lost by 5 points given those 3
Mhm.
interceptions. So you have to place the blame on the quarterback play here because
Agree.
everybody else did well around him for the most part. You still had 18 points with 3 turnovers, and Devontae Adams is showing up and shelling out. You either need to get better play out of this team or you need to get something in return for Devontae Adams before he holds out. You don't get anything from him.
I agree with that. I agree that this game to me is on Garoppolo for the L. And for Devontae Adams, are the Saints calling? Interesting. Let's go to the Monday night tilts, shall we? And we'll start with Cool McCain's favorite team, the Eagles. They went down to Tampa to play the Buccaneers, and they pretty much ran, and I do mean ran, the Buccaneers out of Raymond James Stadium to the tune of 25-11. 201 rushing yards the Eagles put up. And the Eagles defense, they did not have spectacular stats, but they just simply made life difficult for just about everybody on the Buccaneers offense. Your thoughts, sir?
Bunker Stayfield got humbled.
What?
Oh, I said Bunker Stayfield got humbled.
What?
I've been waiting all show for this moment right here.
What?
Bunker just definitely bunkered it up this past Monday night.
What?
Oh, yes, sir, he did.
What?
11 points, Bunker.
What?
I said 11 motherfathering points.
What?
What kind of play do you expect to get out of your quarterback when he goes out there and he throws 146 yards, an interception, and has 1 lone touchdown? On top of that, your running game was an absolute dumpster fire on top of that. Okay.
Yes, it was.
14 carries for 38 yards out of Rashad
That's
White.
horrible.
That is your leading running back
Mhm.
right there. You know who was number 2? Bunker Stayfield with 1 rush for 2 yards. So when I put all of that perspective and I think about your dumpster Pelican play from your quarterback, your dumpster fire game from your running backs, and you can't even catch a pass to save your life when it comes to your receivers. You got Mike Evans at one side there. He's your top receiver. He's got 5 receptions for 60 yards. When you take him out of the equation, Chris Godwin was your next with 3 receptions, 32 yards. That's your number 2 receiver. Things are not looking like they did with Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II in tow as the quarterback for that team. Now, we expected this when it came to the Eagles game right here with the Buccaneers, when it was Bunker Stayfield coming here. We did talk about this past week of the potential of this situation happening this Monday night. And it did. And now we have to live with it. We have to live with the fact that the Buccaneers replaced Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II with Bunker Stayfield. And look at what's happening. He's bunkering it up.
Bunker Stayfield. Junior. All right. Let's get to the other Monday night game, shall we? And that is the Bengals hosting the Rams. And the score is 19-16. It basically was just as boring as a Sunday night game. The game really wasn't this close. The most important, I guess I wouldn't say most important, the most impressive stat, Jamar Chase, who, of course, was the recipient of the game plan of the Bengals, which was to get the ball out of the hands of a hurting Joe Burrow, 12 receptions, 141 yards. All right, I'll say it before I turn it over to you. Sean McVay, there is this wonderful tool that you can use in an offense. It's called running the ball. Your thoughts, sir?
I mean, he tried. He had 10. His leading rusher was 10 carries, 38 yards out of Kieran Williams. Okay. But 3.8 yards per gain isn't going to do it for you. All right. Now, Kevin McAllister on the other side of the ball. Oh, Joe Cool of today. Joe Burrow. I call him Kevin McAllister because he looks kind of close to Macaulay Culkin. Okay. So he's out there slinging the rock. He is hurt. Stuck with the game plan. If it wasn't for Jamar Chase, they would not have won this game. He did some great numbers, kind of like what we were just talking about with Devontae Adams on the receiving part for the Raiders, as well as when you think of Adam Thielen for the Carolina Panthers, except for they lost that game, okay? But we have seen some big numbers out of some receivers this past week who are having 10, 11, 12 receptions for close to 150 receiving yards, and this was that situation right here. Now, you take that out of the equation, he doesn't have that type of numbers. The Bengals aren't winning this game because Joe Burrow still turned the ball over with that one turnover and was only 26 of 49. And you think of the fact that 12 of those 26 completions went to Jamar Chase. Only 14 other completions went to the other receivers. If it wasn't for him, they would not have won this game by the field goal they did. They need to hope that Joe Burrow gets fully healthy soon. It's going to be a long season. If you're only 3 games in, he's banged up, and you're winning games like this against a team like the Rams, who are not competitive enough to keep up with you.
Wonderfully said, Drew. Yeah, and it goes to show that the injury that he suffered in late July that they tried to paint as, well, it's just a mere bag of shells. I guess not. It looks like it's worse than they painted and we thought. But hey, you at least got a win, Bengals. Congratulations. So you're 1-2. I hope I agree with Drew. I hope that the Bengals can lick their wounds and can continue. Hopefully they can. The way that Joe Burrow has performed these first 3 games, it doesn't look good, though. Let's get to the game of the week, and that is in U.S. Bank Stadium between the Chargers and the Vikings. This was a casual fan's dream as the Chargers won the game in 28-24 over the Vikings. Justin Herbert for the Chargers, he threw for 405 yards, threw for 3 touchdowns, and Keenan Allen caught for 215 receiving yards and threw a passing touchdown. Kirk Cousins on the losing end, he threw for 367 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did throw a pick, and Justin Jefferson was the recipient of 149 of those 367 yards and 1 of those 3 touchdowns. Offense, and bad coaching. I'm sorry. Your thoughts, sir?
Now, had the Chargers lost this game, I don't know if Brandon Staley would have finished the season as the head coach. And you look on the other side for the Minnesota Vikings, it's not looking good for their head coach with O'Connell either. Starting the season 0-3, when you had all that hype, with everything that happened last year, the way things ended. Then you had the hype turn it around this year. You got Justin Jefferson. You got Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins isn't playing completely terribly because he's still having almost 400 passing yards in the game and 3 touchdowns. Now, he did have 18 incompletions on 32 of 50 attempts with passing and did have an interception. But I can't put this completely on Kirk Cousins because,
I don't either.
You got other pieces around you, and this is more so on the coaching, I would say. Both teams have got some question marks at coaching here, like you said, with Brandon Staley, with Kevin O'Connell on the other side. I think that this played in the equation more on how this game ended than the play style of the players who are actually even playing it. So that's my takeaway from this game. Good on Justin Herbert to sling the rock like he did and get this win because he deserved it. But Kirk Cousins starting the year 0-3, he deserves better with the type of play he's been giving the Vikings. He's been throwing each and every week. He's not hurt. He's not making terrible decisions each and every week. But, I feel it's more so on the coaching at this point because 0-3, a hard thing to come back from.
It is. And double especially if you're getting 300 yards in the first game, 300 yards in the second game, and 300 yards in the third game from your QB, and you're still taking L's, then that means you're doing something else that is taken away from your team's success because it's not the guy who supposedly leads the team on the field. He's doing his job the best that he can, but O'Connell, I'm looking directly at you. You got to help your quarterback out, and you're not. Just like your competitor on the other side of the sideline this past Sunday, you're almost morphing into Mr. Staley yourself, Mr. O'Connell. You got to help out Kirk Cousins because this guy can't keep throwing for these many yards and you keep coming up empty. There's no excuse. And as for the Chargers, man, yeah, you were fortunate to come out with a win, not because of Herbert, not because of Allen, and not actually because of their defense, although they gave it 24 points. It's because of Staley. But I could go on and I could waste more time talking about how much I love Brandon Staley. Not. Goodness gracious. Well, anyway, I know you're saying, well, Cole, that's not all the games. There's one that you omitted. Oh, I didn't omit it.
I've been waiting.
I didn't omit it. We're going to talk about that on the other side. This is Total Football Talk with Drew Willingham, and I am Cole Johnson. We'll be right back.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989 on 2. Ready?
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. You kids from the block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby!
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Peckham's. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying, but this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Bobby J and Wise El Jefe. Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk, hard-hitting grind action just for you. With Drew Willingham, I am Cole Johnson. And yes, we touched on 15 of the games in week 3. It's now time to touch on the 16th, and that will start the Gridiron Scoop. Tua Tagovailoa. He threw 23 of 26 for 309 yards and 4 touchdowns with no picks and no sacks. Mike White also got in on the action, 1 touchdown. Jets, are you watching? I'm sorry, my bad. Devon Chain, 18 carries, 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Tyreek Hill, 9 receptions, 157 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, I'm reading all these stats, and I'll read one more. 43 carries, 350 yards. That is how many yards the Miami Dolphins gained rushing. How many Tua Tagovailoa got in passing? How many of those 350 yards that Kane got? And how many of those passing yards that Tyreek Hill got in a 70-20 butt whooping that they placed on the Denver Broncos? Now, my question to you, sir, does this game make the Dolphins the NFL's team to beat?
It's heading that way. It is definitely heading that way because the Dolphins have been showing up every week, and this is the biggest deficit we've seen in quite some time, for one. But for two, the Broncos are just that bad. Okay, they are just that bad. Think about this. Everybody's putting all the praise on the offense, Cole, but look at the Dolphins defense.
I agree.
All but one player on the defense of the Dolphins made a play. Every single player, even the backups, except for one player, made a play. So whether it was a half of a tackle or a half of a sack or a full tackle or interception, you have whatnot, they made a play. Each and every person on the defense, and that speaks volumes. You not only have the offense totally bought into this system in Miami, you have the defense too. You're playing well on both sides of the football. And when you've got a great offense of what we can say for the first 3 weeks of the season, followed by some great play by the defense, you are the team to beat, in my opinion, right now.
I agree with you on that assessment. I still lean a little more 49ers. However, I'll admit the Dolphins offense has outperformed every offense in the NFL this year without question. But I do agree with you. I think we're starting to see the defense buy into it too. And I think I won't say taking it personally yet, but I think they're taking it internally personal of, wait a minute, we're going to be the unit that people are going to forget about. Well, we're going to make sure you don't. And Sunday, they made sure that we would not forget about them. That was a really good point. And even though, yes, the Broncos scored 20 points, the 20 points was hollow and shallow. I mean, except for maybe the first 10. But, this team is looking really, really good and really, really scary. 70-20. Goodness gracious.
And look at how Sean Payton reacted at the end of that game. Some of those questions that he was getting asked, he took it very personal. You know, you don't really see Sean Payton lose his cool hardly ever. But now at this point, you're 0-3. And it's not all on Russell Wilson. He's improved in some areas. He still needs a lot of work. But overall, I downloaded this clip mainly for this situation right here. When I think of the Denver Broncos.
Stop it. Get some help.
Absolutely, because you really need it. You absolutely need it. Again.
Let me talk to you.
With that said.
Stop it. Get some help.
And unfortunately, this stains the reputation of one Vance Joseph, because now he was a bright defensive mind. He actually had a taste of head coaching, but now he has on his record once gave up 70 points in an NFL game as a defensive coordinator. Not so good. Ooh, yeah. The Dolphins are up, or on all the way up, I should say, and the Broncos. If you didn't hit rock bottom Sunday, you're very close to hitting it. And for a different reason of hitting rock bottom, not because of performance, but because of injury. Yes, the Chargers did win their first game Sunday. Unfortunately, though, it came with a cost. An MRI yesterday revealed that receiver Mike Williams, who is a key figure on the team's offense, he tore the anterior cruciate ligament in his left knee and more than likely will miss the rest of this season. Now, the 28-year-old suffered the injury deep into the third quarter of their victory after he caught an 11-yard pass and was brought down to the turf. Now, he checked on the field and was limping significantly following the injury, and he was eventually carted off to the locker room and was ruled out of the game a short time later. Now, my question to you is the following. How will this impact the Chargers going forward this year?
With their number one receiver going down, it's definitely going to impact him, because it's sad, because the first 2 weeks they were definitely struggling. This week it seemed like they were really starting to get things clicking. Like things were really starting to be clicking within that offense. And then all of a sudden he goes down. So when I think about the fact that injury and that takes him out for the rest of the season, somebody else or one or two more of those receivers are going to have to step up in order to fill that void. And we saw what happened the first 2 weeks with him still on the team. They finally start getting things clicking. He goes down. I don't think there's anybody else in that team, wide receiver wise, that can step up unless the Chargers make a move. But what receiver that's out there that can be moved around is going to want to be traded to a 1-2 team right now? There's a lot of questions surrounding that.
That is a really good point. Really good point. And a team that seems to not have a good footing on both sides of the ball, except for, of course, Justin Herbert, who gets a chance to sling that rock as far and as often as possible. And unfortunately, it's because he has to, which is a shame. But yeah, prayers to you, Mike. I hope everything goes well. I hope your rehab isn't as strenuous as most rehabs normally go. And hopefully you can be back on the field before the 2023 season is over. But if not, take your time, my brother. Take your time. Whew. Turning our attention to a Chargers rival, or should I say the new girlfriend of a player on a rival team, Taylor Swift is feeling her oats. Yes, the singer was shown during Fox's broadcast of the Chiefs' butt-whooping of the Bears Sunday, and sitting in a suite next to Travis Kelce's mother, Donna. Now, Swift was donning a red and white hoodie, cheering on the Chiefs as they prepared for kickoff, and she looked oh so cute when Kelce caught a third quarter touchdown pass and went, quote, "Let's effing go." Close quote. Now, my question to you is, will the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift relationship be a distraction to the Chiefs repeating as world champs?
It depends on how the Swifties act, man. Like, because the Swifties are taking this by far and sending it to the moon, because Travis Kelce was already famous before as a football player. Then he has his football podcast with his brother, okay? And now you are with Swift right here, which they're still downplaying it. They are friends, but we already know how this stuff works out and how the chemistry and stuff, you see it. The Swifties are taking this to the moon. Now, depending on how much the Swifties take this out here, social media, that will be what really makes a distraction. But if there's any team that can handle this, it's the Kansas City Chiefs right now, because they are the reigning champs. They have won 2 championships with this team so far. And, you know, they've already proven that last year with the documentary with Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback documentary, if anything was really going to bring a team down because of the distractions from something like that, we already saw them overcome that and get a Super Bowl ring. So if they can overcome that, I feel like they have a good chance of being able to handle this pressure, because it's not even really a full thing yet in the public eye. We can sit here and try to say that, but it really depends on what the Swifties do that will make an impact on this team.
Oh, I totally agree. And if there's any team that can handle it, it definitely is them. It's not even a question. Not even a question about that. Oh, and Mr. Eagles Elite himself, Cool McCaney, says, hashtag we the best. Well, thank you, DJ Khaled. Cool McCain.
You can't say you're the best until you're a reigning champ, Cool.
Oh, wow. And this is said from a Commanders fan. Will Debbie touch on Dick?
You did get a Super Bowl before. You have had the most recent NFC East Super Bowl, but that's still not what you did last year. The Chiefs did. I don't care about what happened at the end of the game. The Chiefs still won, so they are the best right now.
Oh, Lord. He is trying to rage war against an NFC East fan. All right. Goodness gracious. Okay. Before this spirals further out of control.
Total football talk.
Where my dogs at? Oh, yes, it's time for the Grand Champ, where we award the dog of this week. And when we mean dog, we mean the guy who actually did his thing on the field. And for his Grand Champ, Drew.
You know, it's tough. This one, I had a very tough choice to make, because I'll at least say this. It's a receiver. Okay. It's a receiver this week who gets the dog of the week. Okay. And it's not going to be Adam Thielen of the Carolina Panthers, because had they won that game, I would say that you would have to give it to him. And it's not going to be Devontae Adams, because, of course, they lost that game. The receivers that I think about in this game and for this type of week, for my dog of the week, the one who carried the team to victory, and it was very recently, and that is Ja'Marr Chase with 12 receptions, 141 yards. He did not get a touchdown, but he had 11.8 yards per carry. If it was not for him helping out Kevin McAllister, they would not have gotten the win there for Cincinnati. So that is who my dog of the week is.
Oh, my gosh. Now I'm thinking Macaulay Culkin every time I see Joe Burrow. Goodness gracious. Okay.
Puts on the brute. Ah!
Oh, my gosh. Now, mine is more of a sympathetic thing because of who he plays for. So I give you mad credit, one, Mr. Justin Herbert, because you are dealing with one inept human being that is your head coach in Brandon Staley. And you put up some big time numbers, sir, throwing for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. And they needed every single bit of the 405 yards that you threw for. And you have been balling, but you have been coming up short. Thankfully, this past Sunday, you did not. So you can continue onward and you can keep pushing, because I think, sir, you can bring up the level of the team. I know you're trying. I know it's hard, but hey, it's well worth it. And you got a victory now. Hopefully you can build on that. And I feel for you, sir. In fact, I pray for you every single day that they can find a head coach who can complement you better than Brandon Staley. And those are the dogs of the week.
Coming up next, the featured attractions. This is Total Football Talk. Comey Media Incorporated. Creating content magic in the real world.
Yeah. But hey, that was last year. And what did he was out.
Right. And now he's in.
But he's been out for an entire year. It's not, you can't think he's going to make the same impact that he did before he was suspended.
I'm telling you, he won't have to.
What?
See how
Is he going to keep his phone down and not make bets?
Come
on, man.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign DWillie87. Go ahead, hit him up on the Cash App, and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie Bucks?
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
If you're looking for a sports program that gives you the flavor.
Washington Commanders? Really?
This whole thing stinks to high heaven.
That pulls no punches.
Thuggish act by a thuggish actor.
That gives you some humor.
Praise everything LeBron does and never criticize it.
If you want a show that gives you good times, then this is that show. BS3 Network proudly presents.
I am Cole Johnson, and welcome to
Cole Sports with a Z. Every Friday on Patreon, and every Saturday on YouTube, Spreaker, and all other outlets.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk with Drew Willingham. I am Cole Johnson, and before we get into the featured attractions realm, we do have some comments to go through. Now, from the comment of the hashtag We The Best from Cool McCain and the response that he received from Drew, he says, quote, I just did. 49ers and Cowboys been saying it. And then he goes on to say, Drew, I'm going to need y'all to make the playoffs before you can enter the discussion. Thanks.
Cool McCain, you still are harping over that play to end of the Super Bowl. And until you overcome that, do not talk about your Eagles being the best.
Slipping into darkness. Oh, sorry, my bad. Jonah, he says, is in the house. What's up, brother? I hope everything's good with you, man.
Jonah.
Cool says the Eagles defensive line is one of his dogs of the week, or one of his grand champions. Jonah says, look, the grand champion, a dog of the week for him, the whole Dolphin squad, even the backup QB, Mike White. Hello, Jets. Why did you get rid of him? Had more fantasy points than most starting QBs who only threw the ball twice.
If you would have done something like that against a better team, I would give you more praise. But I think of the impact that Jamar Chase made for that victory last night for the Bengals, and that was a bigger impact than what the entire Miami team did. So as much as I wanted to give somebody from the Miami team, but there were too many pieces around.
Yeah.
I couldn't just give it to one on the Miami team. That's what the difference maker was. You have a very good point there, Jonah. But when I think about it, when I think about who they were playing, though, I had to weigh that in the equation of who I chose for my dog of the week.
Yeah, because my original choice was the Bills D, but I couldn't. I was like, no, I got to narrow it to one. because that defensive was great, but I'm like, it's got to be one person. Well, cool. Another dog of the week, or Grand Champ, DeAndre Swift, 130 yards on the game for him. And to follow up that 175-yard performance, this past Thursday, I agree. I think he is one of the dogs, but he also says, not Sam Howell.
But did you see me say anything about these picks and pulling the Commanders in there? No. That's how you know I'm not a straight homer for a team, and I can call all 32 teams in the NFL, because I will throw shade on my team if you watch that at the beginning of the episode, and I'll do it again when we get to the previews here. And if you watched any of the Commanders' Gridiron Report yesterday, I threw so much shade on the team and Ronald Eugene Rivera. So when it comes to me and my prediction status for the NFL, I got one up right there, brother.
Oh, Lord. And Cool finishes it off by saying, no, I'm talking about being the best.
And Swift wasn't good enough to be the dog of the week, but you're trying to throw him in there because you're a homer for the Eagles. So again, these were dogs of the week for the entire NFL. This is not the NFC East show. This is where we talk about all 32 teams in the NFL. DeAndre Swift was not on our board. I'm sorry for myself and Cole, on apologies to yourself. But no, Swift was not good enough to be chosen this week, bro.
Oh, my gosh. And this concludes this portion of NFC Beast, brought to you by Angry Commanders and Trolling Eagles Fan. Oh, my gosh. Goodness gracious. You and Cool are too funny.
Stop it. Get some help.
I could not agree more with you, Mike. Cool says, no, you don't. You're supposed to talk about both sides, and you don't get a cookie, sir.
I didn't ask for a cookie.
Oh my gosh, you two are too funny. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's get off of the NFC East for a quick second. Featured attractions, and unfortunately, they will not feature an NFC East team. But we will feature two NFC North teams. Both are 2-1. The Thursday night game, 8:15 p.m. kickoff between the Lions and the homebound Green Bay Packers. So both teams are 2-1. Both are up top of the NFC North division. I'll ask from the Lions standpoint, has the Lions defense turned a corner?
Yes. The motivational speeches we saw from last season, the bite in the kneecaps, they definitely have, because they came up and they were ready to rock and roll this past week. I feel like they have turned the corner. We're seeing some nose-to-nose football when it comes to the way they're playing, when it comes to that defense.
Yeah, they're playing more physical, and I'm loving it. And I think they're taking after the passion of Dan Campbell, who, of course, is the head coach of the team. And I think they're becoming more physical, and I think that's what he wanted. He's getting it, and now he's getting it from both sides, because the running game is starting to actually improve too, and I'm loving that about them. Now, on the other side, the team that's wearing the green and the yellow, the mustard, I should say, is it possible for the Packers to put together a 60-minute ball game? Because I'm seeing them play great in spurts, and I'm seeing them disappear in spurts.
It's going to be tough because, 18-17, these games right here that you're having, especially with the Saints there, you're going to be playing some better teams throughout the rest of this season. You still have 14 more games to go. You got to be able to finish. Now, you proved it in this past week, but you got lucky. You got very lucky. You almost lost that game. So you need to have a little bit more production in those 60 minutes of the games, because, barely getting through and then showing up in the last quarter, Ingle cut it through, and vice versa throughout the rest of the season. They are a young team. They have a lot more to learn and a lot more to overcome. But I feel like at some point we will be able to see a full 60-minute game out of this team.
And to your point, they rolled the dice and gambled, and they lost to the Saints' rivals, Falcons, that way. So you're right. And they will play better teams, and it may not come down to that, because a team might not have it come down to that. And the Lions are favored on the road by a 1.5. What is your prediction of this game, sir?
Lions win this game. They're going to go to Lambeau. They're going to win this game. Just the way they've been coming up each and every week, they're ready for this challenge right here. I mean, I wouldn't say the challenge, but they're ready for this task because the Packers are not the Packers of old. They do have some potential to do great things. They're a young team, but they still need to overcome some challenges. Like I was saying earlier, I feel like that the Lions are going to win this game 24-17.
That's a good score. I think it's probably going to be that way. And I agree with you, Jonah. Do not sleep on the Lions, especially in the next couple of years. I've been feeling that energy ever since probably December of last year. I've actually had to pay attention to them, and I'm like, okay, if this team actually follows the lead of Dan Campbell, this is going to be a dangerous squad. So yes, I agree with you, Jonah. I don't think we are sleeping on them either. I also will take the Lions. I do not have the faith in the Packers in playing a full 60 minutes because you got to against the Lions, as proven by the Seahawks 2 weeks ago. Now, switching to the Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff, probably the game of the week, really. The Dolphins coming off of their 70-20 historic butt whooping of the Broncos. They're coming into Highmark Stadium 3-0, facing off against the Bills. The Bills are favored at home by 2.5. Now, we have talked about the Dolphins, and you wonderfully talked about the Dolphins defense, but I think a lot of people are focused on the offense because of their breakneck speed and possibly seeing speed, the likes of which on offense we haven't seen since possibly the greatest show on turf 2+ decades ago. Now, how can this fast break Dolphins offense continue to succeed?
The momentum of that offense is really fun to watch, but you're also playing a Bills team that can handle that. So looking at this, I feel like out of all the games that the Dolphins are going to have early on in the season, it's going to be their best matchup as far as competition goes. So I don't think the Bills win this game. I think the Dolphins, because of what they've done the first 3 weeks, they've been very red hot. They're going to continue to be red hot. They're not going to go undefeated this season, but I feel like they do win this game because when I think of this Bills team, I look back on Monday night, week 1, when you played Zach Wilson, the biggest dumpster Falcon of them all, as we talked about earlier in this show. Yes, look at the tallest dumpster Pelican on that far top right. That is Zach Wilson. Now, when you play against him, Zach Wilson, and you lose in the caliber of which you did, and you're going to go play the Miami Dolphins, there's no way the Bills win this game. Are they going to get smacked around 70-20 like the Broncos did? No, they're not. They're not going to give up 70 points. That is a replica of how bad that defense is over there in Denver, or just how bad that team is in whole.
Yeah.
But I do think that the Bills can handle the fast-paced momentum of this Miami Dolphins offense, but they're not going to be able to handle it for all 60 minutes of the game. They will have some breakthroughs within that, and we'll talk more about that in a second when you ask the other questions.
Yes, definitely. Cool says, look, the Dolphins were undefeated until Tua got hurt last year, and guess who were the opponent that hurt him last year? We're talking about them. Now, for the Bills, and I'm glad you actually said it that way, because the one thing I noticed, the home game against the Raiders and the road game against the Commanders, it seemed as though the Bills focused on being physical on both sides of the lines of scrimmage, rushing well over 100 yards in the Raiders game, well over 100 yards in the Commanders game. And, of course, they had a few sacks in the Raiders game, and they had 9 against the Commanders. Will we see that physicality of the Bills wear the Dolphins down?
It can. It most certainly can, because they've done it to other teams in the past. And you brought up a very good point about Tua getting smacked around last year, and it was because of the hands of the Buffalo Bills. I feel like that is a very, very big thing we could see. There's a lot of potential for that in this game. I still think the Miami Dolphins overcome it. We'll talk about that in a second.
Okay, well, you said the Dolphins are going to win. Why do you say it?
I think they learned from last year. I think their quarterback's making smarter decisions as we've seen these first 3 weeks of this year. He's not taking the hits, and he's not making the foolish calls when it comes to running the ball and making some foolish plays that he'd made in the past. So I think that even though, yes, the Bills did knock him out last year, the Bills, obviously, as we've seen these first 3 weeks of the year, are not the exact same team they were last year. They're not in this, when I look back on everything as a whole, they're still a decent team. They're still a hard-hitting team. They're going to stay in there with you. But there's been moments throughout this season already in the first 3 weeks where I've got question marks. I feel like the Dolphins win this game. It's not going to be by 50 points, but they definitely can win this by 10 points easy.
I will go the other way, and I'm not saying that we won't see that. And I will say this: I think that the AFC East opponent that seems to give the most headaches for the Bills, you would think I'd say Jets, but I would say Dolphins. Last year was proof. They lost in South Beach. They needed a last-second field goal to beat them in the regular season, and they needed a few sacks against the third-string QB to hold on to a 6-point victory when they played in the wild card in Buffalo. So this team gives the Bills fits. However, and I think it is the team speed all around, but definitely the offensive team speed seems to give every NFL squad fits. But you did make a good point earlier in saying the Bills actually could handle it. And if this game was in South Beach or Coral Gables or wherever you want to call it, but if this game was in Miami, I would probably give it to the Dolphins. I don't think they'll be able to do it this time. So since this is in Buffalo, I'll give it to the Bills slightly, because I'm just not totally sold on the defense yet of the Dolphins, but they haven't really played faulty yet. So yeah, there's a good point there. Now to another Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff, the Browns at 2-1. They host the Ravens, also at 2-1. The Browns are favored by 2 in this game. We will start with the Ravens. Now, they played uninterested against the Texans and won, and they played. They seem to not take the Bengals lightly, and they seem to take the Bengals a little lightly and still won. They seem to roll the helmets on the field against the Colts and lost. So how can the Ravens throw off the Browns defense with a physical running game and very little else?
If they play like they did against the Indianapolis Colts this past weekend, it's not going to happen.
Say it louder.
It's not going to happen if they do it just like they did this past weekend. When I think about how this team played this past weekend, no, I can't do it. I don't want to die. But
I'll help you out.
Yes, they played like dumpster pelicans. They deserve the dumpster pelican award of the week when it comes to what they did with the Colts. Now, all jokes aside, when you play the Browns, and the Browns have proven that their defense is coming. That defense is going to give Lamar Jackson problems. If they thought they had some problems this past week with the Colts defense, you have seen nothing yet in comparison to what you're going to see this next upcoming week. So they need to be more prepared for a harder hitting defense in this game against the Browns, especially in Cleveland where they're comfortable in the dog pound. I don't have a lot of good feelings about this Baltimore Ravens team, but we'll talk about that here in a minute.
Yeah. And speaking of that, yes, the Browns are already 2-0 in the dog pound. And of course, this game will take place in the dog pound this coming Sunday. And I mentioned it earlier, 3 points they gave up against the Bengals, 3 points they gave up against the Titans, and 12 points that defense gave up against the Steelers. Although, yes, it was 26 points that the Steelers scored. 2 pick sixes, you scratched them off. That leaves you with 12. Are we witnessing the best defense in the NFL with the Cleveland Browns?
No, I don't think so. We've got some other teams that can definitely deserve to be crowned that, but they are up and coming. They're definitely in the top 5, potentially top 3 with the way they've been playing, but I'll at least keep them in the top 5 right now because of how early in the year it is. I don't like to rank, but so high until we get at least midway through, because I don't want to put so much hype on a team and then they falter after week 4 or week 5, and then we all look foolish for having them in the top 3 or top 5 or whatnot already. But if this was the end of the season, I would have them up there in the definitely in the top 5, but not quite ready yet to crown them number 1.
You are a pro in this, sir, because you know what Jonas said earlier. He said, you know who definitely needs help? The Cowgirls franchise. overhyped and can't perform in the playoffs. And that statement you just said lends to the defense being all world against the Giants and being a little world. And I mean so little world that they could be mental midgets against the Cardinals. And also, Cool says, you know who else has a great defense? The Patriots. I will leave that alone. I'm with you. I think the Browns, they're on their way up there. I want to see them play a tougher offense.
Yes.
And I think if I can see that and they perform well, then I could probably say, okay, I think we're seeing a tough defense. Until then, I mean, the Bengals are struggling. The Steelers, I mean, Kenny Pickett has not found his groove his second year, the quarterback there. And the Titans. It's the Titans. I don't have to go further. It's Derrick Henry or bust. So, yeah, I agree with you.
If the Ravens play to their potential this week, though, this could be the first time that the Browns really see that type of offense that they have to go against. All that hype we've heard over the offseason of what the Ravens, they've showed flash in the pan through certain plays, but I've been expecting a lot more than what we've been getting out of the Ravens so far.
So
if they can flip that switch this week, then we might finally see that challenge for the Browns this year. But they still need to see more teams with a little bit more oomph on that offensive side before we can crown them at the top of the league at the defense.
I am with you on that. I am with you. Oh, yes. And Cool says, you mean the Cowboys? No, sir. No, sir. I mean the Arlington football team. And Cool knows who I'm talking about.
The Arlington Desperados is what I like to call them because that's how they play half the time.
I like that. Cool also says the Ravens can't beat White Goodman. Oh my gosh! So who do you have in this contest between the Browns and the Ravens? Browns and Ravens. Yeah,
it's really tough. I have to flip a coin for this one. Like this one is literally at the flip of a coin because if the Ravens come in there and they play like with the potential that they have with the offensive side, and we see the Browns defense have to try to live up to that level, I feel like the Ravens have a good chance of winning this game when it comes to that. However, when I think of what Uncle Rico did this past weekend against this team, and the Browns defense is a harder defensive opponent than what you had in that game against the Colts. I'm going to go out on a limb with this, and I'm going to say that the Browns are going to win this game 27-17.
Uncle Rico, that nickname. Okay. The Ravens need to wake up offensively. Defensively, I think they can handle things, although they're not impressive defensively. They can handle business on that side of the ball. It's just that offense just seems to not be awake yet. And I think if they can, they could give the Browns trouble. But I'm with you. I'm in lockstep with you here. I haven't seen anything of the Ravens offense that makes me say they can give the Browns defense issues and trouble. And because of that, I also take the Browns. And we'll actually say the Browns can be 3-1 to start a season. It's been a long time since we've said that. But I think we will be seeing that.
If they start the game out like you started our show out, with the way you hyped up our guy over there, Deshaun Watson, with type massages and everything that he's getting, and he gets a fresh one, a fresh R&T, and he comes out the field ready and hyped up after a good old R&T, he will be ready to go.
Oh, Lord. Cool McCain says, Watson gets his pregame massage on Saturday. And Cleveland gets the W on Sunday. Oh, yeah. You know, girl. You know the position. Get to it. Oh, you look so smooth. That skin glows so nice. The way your knees just bend when you sit. I just love it, girl. Oh, I love the way that your butt just grabs the sea. Ooh, ooh. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. Decorum, Cole, decorum.
Total football talk after dark.
Next, the chopping block and snowflake of the week. This is Total Football Talk. Join Ryan McCarthy.
I became a Jets fan because Kurt the Frog was my favorite Muppet because he was green, and the Jets wore green. That's how I became a Jets fan.
And Dustin Henry.
ESPN is cashing all in on let's pay a few personalities and we'll just kind of fill in the gaps.
As they walk you through all of the world of sports from their perspective.
The Albany Empire, it's a literal circus.
No credentials required. Where, Ryan, say the tag.
Where you don't need a press pass to talk sports.
Every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. On YouTube and where you can find all podcasts. This is a BS3 Network presentation.
I want to do a TED Talk, but I don't have anything to talk about yet. I'm getting there.
Life is for the living. We're not here that long.
You can learn anything you want to learn without any money spent.
What do I really enjoy? What do I really want out of life?
I am your host, WIZE.
Are you in a life holding pattern? Well, this is for you. Welcome to the Stuck in My Mind podcast. Live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central. Football, and more football, you say? Well, tune in to Total Football Talk. Join your hosts, Drew Willingham.
You were playing like a dumpster Pelican quarterback.
And Cole Johnson.
It sets up for possible play action. Did you hear that, Dak Prescott?
As they take you through all the paces, both on the field and in the boardroom, of Total Football Talk. Every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. Exclusively on the Sertoba Media and the Comey Media Incorporated YouTube channel.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk with Drew Willingham. I am Cole Johnson, and I'm really falling in love with our fandom here. To the chat we go, and
Melvin.
I'm gonna get to Melvin. I'm gonna get to Melvin's in a minute. Oh God, Cool says, I wonder why Ryan didn't go the Cookie Monster route. Cookies. You were wrong for that, Cool. But then my man Melvin laughing his butt off, and he says, I got back in time for the Browns and Total Football Talk after dark. Thank you for coming back at that time. But yeah, I mean, hey, if it wasn't for Cool, put this there, I would not have gone there. But
Cole transitioned into the commercial beautifully because it was like Total Football Talk after dark, Mike drop commercial.
Oh my gosh. And I hope you all enjoying it because we're enjoying it here. Let's get to the chopping block. And someone who needs to go on the chopping block, but for some reason is not, is one Zach Wilson. Now, the Jets still want to keep up with him, even with that putrid performance this Sunday at home against the Patriots. And they seem to back him up, and he seems to be able to talk the backing up, because after that 15-10, I'll say it this way. After the 15-10 dumpster Pelican game that we saw in a loss to the Patriots, he said, quote, it's tough. We weren't doing anything on offense. A lot of frustration by everybody on offense. Close quote. Coach Prime.
Ain't nobody care. Who cares? Ain't nobody care.
Oh, son, no. I'm not gonna go there. They are still sticking with this guy. You even have Joe Namath saying, "I've seen enough." What are the Jets organization seeing that we aren't?
You know, I'm going to go back to what you were talking about at the beginning of this, how they still want to keep tabs with them. You know how you can still keep tabs with someone after you cut bait? You can still follow him on Instagram. You don't have to have him in the locker room. So if he's making that big of a negative impact on the team, sometimes you just have to walk away. In this case, that's what's got to happen with Zach Wilson, because we've all experienced it at some point in our lifetime where we've had been a part of a decision that affects us internally, or somebody that's a part of a team and make a decision, whether it's good or bad personally. And in this case, if you like him so much personally, you can still follow him on Instagram and watch how he does outside of the team. But if he's this much of a dumpster pelican, the tallest one of them all, and he's on your team, you've got to cut bait.
Yeah, you do. You do. You're having Jets legends saying, and I mean, you're having the joke of I saw on First Take where Shannon Sharp pointed out to a Jets fan that was basically saying to Zach Wilson, "Get off the effing field," and his dentures was about to fall off his mouth. I mean, it's just getting bad. It's just getting really bad. Cool says, "Look, great timing. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that." Mickey says, "This is an awesome show. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I totally appreciate that." RC, it's good to see you, brother. RC Talks Basketball and Caitlin. That's Caitlin Clark. He says, "I'm here. Cole, just let your soul glow." Thank you, sir.
Fire. My man kills it on the mic.
Thank you, sir. Cool says, "The Jet front office and offensive decision makers." I will complete that sentence for you. They are dumpster pelicans. Goodness gracious. RC goes on to say, "Zach Wilson and Justin Fields are absolutely the hottest garbage quarterbacks out there. It's so sad." 100, bro. 100. Yes. And I haven't gone in on Justin Fields on this show yet, but I know eventually, sometime throughout the year, I will. He also says, Salah said he's undoubtedly, talking about Zach Wilson, our quarterback. Zach Wilson, he's not doing anything to help the team at all. At this point, why don't we just call him Quack Wilson?
I love that. I'm gonna start using that in the show now. Quack Wilson.
I can't argue any of that. Thank you, RC.
Yeah.
You just contributed to a nickname. It won't be hearing Zach Capono Wilson. We'll be hearing Quack Wilson now.
Yeah, I hadn't even dropped the Capono all episode, but now that you dropped the Quack, I really like it. I'm going to adopt it. Thank you for the inspiration. That's awesome.
Man. I love our audience. Woo, man. I love it.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Now, who was not given the business was the Broncos this past Sunday in Miami when they took a 70-20 defeat. But Sean Payton was talking mad trash 2 months ago when he sat in training camp and he said that the previous head coach in front of him, who now is the current offensive coordinator for the New York Jets, Nathaniel Hackett, more trash. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. Wrong show. I'm sorry. Yes. Nathaniel Hackett, Dumpster Pelicans. Dumpster Pelicans, Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah, that's where your offensive game plan is. It's in that pile right there with the Pelicans. Watch it again. That's where your offensive game plan is, right there, in that landfill. That's your offensive game plan. I'm sorry, we're not talking about the Jets. We're talking about the landfill of dumpster pelican situation that is the Broncos. Peyton talk mad trash, and now he is 0-3, facing a team, or I should say he's coaching a team that has allowed the most points an NFL squad has done in the last 57 years. Now, it may be too soon. It might be even unfair, but you know what? I didn't see Hackett's Broncos put up 20 points to lose by 50. I mean, at least the Hackett's teams won by a couple games, and they only lost by a field goal here or there. They may have lost by 4 or 5 points here or there. Not 70-20. But my question to you, sir, is it time for a major overhaul in Denver? And I mean, is it time to move out Peyton? Is it time to move out Vance Joseph? Is it time to move out Russell Wilson? And is it even time to move out the front office too with John Elway?
Well, John Elway's already gone.
That's right. He is gone. My bad.
John Elway was let go, was relieved of his duties last offseason. So I have to give that credit. But, it was already an eyebrow raiser when they brought back Vance Joseph anyway, because it's not uncommon for someone to be a head coach of a team, get let go, and then comes back as a defensive coordinator. But he was just the head coach of the team 4 or 5 seasons ago, so it wasn't that far removed. There are still players within the team that had issues probably with him as a head coach that are still with the team playing for him on the defensive side of the ball. So when I think of Denver, I don't think that was the smartest move of bringing him back during the offseason. I think they need to cut bait with him. Russell Wilson, the contract they signed, I think at least after this year, depending on if he plays worse or not, but if he finds a way to improve somewhere throughout the year, you got to give him another chance next year. Sean Payton's only a year in, and you cannot fire coaches in back-to-back seasons and then start next year with your third coach in 3 seasons. Well, technically 4th coach in 4 seasons, because Nathaniel Hackett only lasted for a season. So, yes, there may be some things that overhaul-wise need to go around this team, but as far as the coach and the quarterback, I think we're stuck with that. But there are a lot of cracks in the foundation around this team that do need to get filled throughout the rest of this year or during the offseason, because they did not do the greatest of job doing it this past offseason. All they really did, in my opinion, was really replace the head coach and the defensive coordinator, and that didn't really, make a difference to the talent that you have on the team, because they're still doing the same things they did last year as far as losing, but they're doing it in a worse fashion. Because, like you said, last year Hackett was only losing by 3 points here, a touchdown there. They weren't really getting blown out that often. But when you think about this year, and you've got Sean Payton who comes in, he's been a head coach with the New Orleans Saints. He took a year off, but of course he did the things that he did in New Orleans for all that time. You think about all that, and now you have a situation where you go into Denver, a team that is played like dumpster pelicans left and right. And I'll keep on going while we figure out what's going on with Cole, but playing like dumpster pelicans left and right, these Denver Broncos are. And you get Sean Payton, and you bring in old Vance Joseph as your defensive coordinator after he was your head coach. And you're thinking, yeah, we might be able to turn some things around with the leadership changes that we got here in place. No, that is not what happened. As you see, we have dumpster pelican play from the Denver Broncos, and it's going to keep happening until you make an overhaul of some sort within the talent on that 53-man roster.
Yeah, I agree. Cool says, look, FYI, that QB in New England is whack and cheese. Go ahead. There you go.
You gotta take the S. You gotta take the S off. S-E off. Just the S off. Whack and cheese.
Oh Lord. RC says, look, I told my homeboy Miami Denver final score is 70-20. That sounded like a high school basketball score. Yeah, it did. It did. He also says, look, Cole, before they overhaul everything in Denver, let's see who wins the Bums and Basement Bowl this Sunday, and we'll touch on that very soon. He also says, look, Sunday's game between the Chicago Scares and the Denver Broncos. I love that. I might have to embrace that. Man, you come up with some great nicknames, RC. I'm loving you, bro. I'm loving this, bro. I'm loving this. Chicago Scares. If I can, I'm gonna borrow that one. Might be the first game in NFL history to go down in the overtime tied at nothing. It'll be sudden death to see who's get a first down. The scary thing is you actually might be right, man. It might be a battle of futility for sure. And yeah, we will definitely touch on that. Oh, gosh, that's going to be horrible. Oh, that's going to be a horrible game.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Now, from Denver to Jacksonville, it looks like the Jaguars may have gotten too comfortable or too confident. Heck, it might be both. Who knows? But we talked about their putrid performance they delivered Sunday to the tune of a 37-17 loss. Oh, no, by the way, the Broncos can refer to the Texans as to how to be a team to have 3 head coaches in 3 years, but I digress. Now, Calvin Ridley, who did well to start the year, he dropped 3 passes this past Sunday, including 2 in the end zone, and he was also flagged twice for false starts. And then you had Trevor Lawrence throwing an interception. Oh, and you had Jamal Agnew fumbling. So things could not have gone more wrong for a squad that was due to clean up the AFC South and be, I won't say on the same footing as the Bills, the Bengals, and the Chiefs, but they were due to basically be the next team up and one level below them. But it doesn't look that way now, or at least for the first 3 games, it doesn't look that way. Now, my question to you is, how can the Jaguars basically get their mojo back? How can they get back to being that confident and together squad we saw in the end of 2022?
It's going to take a lot more than what they've done so far in this season, because when we think about the way that they lost this past weekend, and you think about, of course, you've given praise to the Texans being their kryptonite, okay? They're, for some way, somehow, even at the really bad peak of the Texans, okay, they are still finding a way to beat this Jaguars team. That speaks volumes to me, and you still haven't overcome that. If you were going to be the team that you were this past offseason, they've been praising so much, you would have won that game this past weekend. You got to find a way to not get psyched out by these teams that are on paper with their roster, except for their quarterback right now, playing like dumpster Pelicans. Okay. Like, seriously, like, except for their quarterback, CJ Stroud, who has been playing very well. Texans are known. They're probably the 8th Pelican in the back. Okay. So
I agree.
Yeah. So I can't give so much praise there. Jaguars, they've got to find within this core, and it stems from the core of the team of why they lost that game this past weekend. They have to fix what's wrong within the core of that foundation in order to get that straight. They're not a bad team. They're just losing to bad teams.
Yes. And that's the most inexplicable part of it to me. It's like, wow, you shouldn't be losing by that much to a team that isn't that good. And I'm saying it's about my team. I'll do like Chris Bates. Me. I'm saying it's about my Texans. They are a horrendous team outside of Will Anderson and CJ Stroud. Maybe Nick Collins and Damian Pierce. Outside of those 4 pieces, and yeah, I'll give DeMeco Ryans, the head coach, credit too. Outside of those 5 pieces, that team is bad, and I root for them. I will tell you that. And the Jaguars had no business losing to them by 20 at home. None. And so I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. They got to fix that issue before they can actually call themselves a contender. Because this is one of those teams where it's like, oh, the Texans, okay, this should be a W for us. And they don't believe it. Not now. And it's unfortunate. But oh well, c'est la vie. But they do have a lot of time to recover. And hey, they're only 1 game back. And they already beat the team that's ahead of them in the AFC South. So, Jaguars, you can at least hold that. Duval!
Total Football Talk.
Now, which person?
My bad, I was getting down.
No, which person is Drew going to nominate, and I'm going to nominate for the Snowflake of the Week? Drew will go first.
I'm feeling pressure from one Cool McCain to do the right thing right here. Okay. And I had another snowflake in mind. But you know what? I'm going to take this to another level right here. And I'm going to nominate Samuel Howell for the Snowflake of the Week. The man came into this game. There was hype. Coming into this game for the Commanders. Playing the Bills. Oh, you're undefeated this year. You got Sam Howell. You're 2-0. Yet you're also at home. And what do? You have an interception. You have an interception. No, you have an interception. No, you have an interception. My Snowflake of the Week goes to one Samuel Howell for having 4 interceptions thrown. And on top of that, that very last one, that 4th interception where you played hot potato with the man on the other side and you just went, and then he catches the ball, goes, and then runs to the suit, runs it in for a pick 6. That's what happens. To the end zone is what happened. Followed by a little bit of That's what happened when you scored a touchdown. So Sam Howell, you spread the ball around all right. Different receivers caught the ball, and especially for the other team, you are the Snowflake of the Week, in my opinion.
And tune in to more of that on D. Willie in the evening, Thursdays at 11:15 p.m. Eastern, 10:15 p.m. Central on the Sartoba Media YouTube channel. Oh my gosh, you are hilarious. and you're getting a lot of praise here. Our brother, why is that? He says, wow, you're throwing your QB under the bus.
Hey, I'm trying to just prove out here in these streets that I am not a straight homer from our team. Even though before they change the name, we already know what's on this arm right here. I'm just doing the right thing by calling somebody out for their dumpster Pelican-esque play.
Mm-hmm. Cool McCain says it should be RDP, and that's Rain Dakota Prescott for of the Arlington football team or Dallas Cowboys. Wise also dominates the Cowboys themselves. And yeah, they probably would be for me. However, an NFL team gave up 70 points. I'll say it again. An NFL team gave up 70 points. 70 points, 70, 10 touchdowns. And I could say all 11 of the Broncos defense, but I'm not. I could say the head coach, Sean Payton, because he did not handle that post-game press conference well, but I won't. I will focus my eye squarely on the former head coach of the team that he now is defense coordinator of, Vance Joseph. Sir, until this game, you were considered okay. You might have another shot to springboard from this opportunity to another head coaching position, but now you have on your record forever and ever the man who was the defensive coordinator of the team that gave up the most points in the NFL in a game since 1967. I'm sorry, my bad. 1966. 57 years. We have not seen a team give up that many points. Yet they did, and it was under your watch. And yes, your head coach your boss, head coach, deserves a little bit of this blame too, but you are in charge of this defense. You were the one who allowed a 300-yard passer. Heck, you even allowed the backup quarterback to throw for a perfect 2-for-2 and a touchdown. You allowed a 200-yard rusher on less than 20 carries, I may add. And yeah, you did allow a 150-yard receiver. But your wonderful game plan yielded over 300 yards on the ground gained against you. So I could point to many other directions, but you, Mr. Vance Joseph, you deserve all of this smoke, sir. 70 points. You got to do better than that. And how you are still walking without a pink slip. Oh, no, I take that back. How you actually got a chance to walk into the charter plane flying from Miami to Denver. I got to slide up against you, brother, and ask you, how do you have that much favor? Because if I did a porous job like that on my job, I would get the pink slip quick, fast, and in a hurry. You didn't, so I guess I had to give you dap. But my man, whew, you was a snowflake and a half, bro. Oh my gosh. We'll be back.
The 2-minute drill is next. This is Total Football Talk. Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets. Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. You want your Commanders to be repped right? Well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Monday at 3:05 p.m. Eastern, 2:05 p.m. Central. Exclusively on the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool.
Where my soldiers? Right side. Commanders. Where my soldiers? Left side.
Join the transporter to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze god.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crayon they get, they palm it and do 2 circles, and that translates to, I can be the black people.
As she takes you through the week's paces in Baseline. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, Pacific Time Zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Bass YouTube channel.
And down this stretch we come here on Total Football Talk with Drew Willingham. I am Cole Johnson. To the chat we go before we do break out the best of the rest. Cool says, gotta go Braun News. So no C with the Broncos. Okay, gotcha. RC says the team of invisible defenders, aka the Broncos. Yes. Wyatt says the backup running back, talking about the Dolphins. The backup running back scored 2 touchdowns. And he also says Sean Payton is eating his words about Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah, we touched on that earlier, and I agree with you, Wise. He is eating a lot of crow now. Jonah says I've been bad. Talking about the Commanders. He says, I've been a Commanders fan since I was born, and I remember Patrick Ramsey was our QB.
Yeah. I don't even want to touch that one.
Oh my gosh. Woo. I do remember that too. And I'm not even a fan of the Commanders. Goodness gracious.
Danny Werfel or whatever.
Werfel.
Yeah, I remember all that. Like I was born 87, so I remember vaguely, like very vaguely, that last Super Bowl because I was like 5. I remember like the Super Bowl party and some pieces of it. And of course, seeing the game of NFL films afterwards. But I remember more of the downfall than I do of that situation. And I remember those quarterbacks of the past. You might as well have some Browns starting roster quarterbacks for the past 25 years like you would for this team because the list is long.
Yeah, it is. It is. But hopefully better times are ahead for the Commanders. But I feel your pain because I'm going through with the Texans too, so I know the pain oh so well. Man. So we're here to cover the best of the rest. We already touched on the three best games of the week. Now it's time for the others. And we'll start with the Sunday 9:30 a.m. kickoff. The game in London. Yes, the International Series kicks off this coming Sunday. The 2-1 Falcons face off against the 1-2 Jaguars. The Jaguars are favored by 3. Who do you have, sir?
Jaguars are favored by 3 after this past week. Yeah, I give it to them. You know, even though you are playing the Falcons, I feel like the Falcons finally got humbled in this past week. I see them dropping 2 straight games. Jaguars, don't see them losing this one. I feel like the Jaguars beat the Falcons here 18-11.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be a bowling shoe ugly game. I agree. Yeah, I think I'm gonna take the Falcons too. I just don't think I think the Jaguars are.
Oh, you're taking the Falcons. I took the Jaguars.
Oh, I'm sorry. You took Jaguars. I'm gonna take the Falcons because I'm thinking.
Okay.
I think the Jaguars they still need to hit further down. I think they need to hit rock bottom before they come back up because I think they'll respond to that better for some reason. And now the game that Jonah said that it should have a WWE stipulation tacked onto it. The Bears and the Broncos. He says, please, that should have a WWE stipulation tacked onto it. That being the lower team or the team that loses leaves WWE. So yes, we'll do it. Loser leaves WWE. Loser leaves the NFL. The Broncos and the Bears, both teams are 0-3. The Broncos are favored by 3.5. Kickoff is Sunday, 1 p.m. in Chicago. Who do you have?
I want the Broncos to win just because I want the Bears to leave the NFL at this point. Like, if that was the actual stipulation, the Broncos have a lot more, you know, they've had a lot more of a positive history throughout the NFL than the Bears have, at least over the course of the past 50 years. Okay. Well, we'll say 30 years more so because the John Elway experience mainly for the Broncos.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when I put it all into perspective, and I think about the fact that the Bears and the situation they have, of course, they just had one of their coordinators step down because he's getting investigated by the FBI for whatever that reason is. Then you got the quarterback calling out the coaching, which at least Denver doesn't have that going on publicly. I feel like the Chicago Bears are the ones that go 0-4 here. Denver gets their first win, but it's going to be so ugly. I don't even have a score prediction for it.
I'm not going to predict the score, but Justin Fields, please learn how to play the position and learn it fast. Broncos, they have this one. Another bowling shoe ugly game. The 1-2 Bengals go to Nashville to face off against the 1-2 Titans. The Titans are favored by 1.5. Sunday, 1 p.m. kickoff. Who do you have?
This game, it's going to be a little bit more interesting than our previous game that we just talked about because, you know, there's a little bit more competition on this one. But with the Bengals and the Titans, I mean, now the Bengals finally 1-2 with everything that's been going on against another 1-2 team. Feel like Kevin McAllister starting to get his wings back. I think the Bengals win this one and have a 2-game winning streak, and they're going to be 2-2 at the end of this one.
That would make me happy. The one team that I want to see fail more than any other is the Titans. And that team is Derrick Henry or bust. And unfortunately, they're busting right now. I'm taking the Bengals on this. Sunday, 1 p.m., the Colts are favored by 1. They host the Rams. Colts are 2-1. The Rams are 1-2. Who do you have, sir?
If Uncle Rico starts this game and comes in hot, the Colts are going to win on the back of Uncle Rico. It's happening this Sunday, 1 o'clock in Indianapolis.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Well, yeah. Yes. Fine. I believe in Uncle Rico. Okay. Yeah, the Colts will beat the Rams. Goodness gracious. The battle of 2-1 teams and the battle of the NFC South lead. Sunday, 1 p.m. kickoff at the Mercedes Superdome. The Saints, who are favored by 3, they host the Buccaneers. Who do you have, sir?
Jameis as the starting quarterback. I don't have high hopes for this situation right here. I feel like Bunker Stayfield overcomes his previous deficit, and the Buccaneers will be 3-1 after this game.
Let me see. If Derek Carr comes back and plays, I don't think he will. But if he does, I actually even dinged up. I feel that they would have a chance to win this game. But since it's Mr. Eat the W's that might, he's gonna be eating L's. I agree with you. I think the Buccaneers will take this too.
Hey, that same mouth is 8 stolen crab legs as well.
Oh Lord. I figured, but hey, I was hoping against hope because I don't want to see Jameis Winston at QB for the Saints.
Yeah,
thank you, Wise.
We can't give credit to them if Jameis is gonna play this game, but it's got to go with the Bucs.
Yes. Another Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff. We have Cool McCain's favorite team, the Eagles, hosting my partner's favorite team, the Commanders. Surprised that the line is 2.5, but who do you have in this, sir?
The Eagles are gonna mollywop the Commanders. End of story.
I don't know if they're gonna mollywop them, but I think they're gonna handle them. I think the Commanders, and this isn't trash talk. I just don't think the Commanders have enough to withstand what the Eagles can do in Philly. I just don't see it.
No, they don't. I laid down the hammer very well yesterday on my team, and as much as we want to sit up here and be homers for our team and expect our team to make the playoffs every year and get to the Super Bowl, it's just not going to happen in the real world unless you stack your team up on Madden and you play it that way. That's the only way you're going to the Super Bowl this year. But you said it beautifully, though, there, Cole. The team is just not quite ready yet. They don't have the offensive line that can withstand the pressure that the defense from the Eagles are going to give them this Sunday. As much as I would like to see the improvement there, it's just not going to happen until until they do that during this offseason or the following offseason, whether it's via draft or free agency or trade, where it's going to be a struggle until that point.
Yeah, that defensive line of the Eagles. Woo! There's some dogs on that line. All right, another Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff. The Vikings travel to Charlotte to play the Panthers. That's Carolina. Carolina. I'm sorry. The Vikings are favored by 3. Who's going to win their first game?
Did you see this matchup potentially taking place when it was on the schedule during the offseason with the Vikings and the Panthers? And we thought maybe one of them would have 0 wins, which we were right about that team. But the other team, though, the Vikings, both of these being winless, Adam Thielen in Carolina now against his old team, probably saying, well, it didn't matter if I stayed or I left because both teams suck. So in this contest, you have to win this game if you are the Minnesota Vikings, if you have any hope of turning this thing around this year. Any hope whatsoever, because you've already got the same amount of defeats as you did last year for the entire season in the first 3 weeks of the year. So now, what are you going to do? You have to come in here to the Carolina Panthers. I feel like the Vikings get this win, and I feel like this is going to be the boost they need to finally jumpstart the rest of the season. Will they pick up where they left off last year as far as finishing the season with a really good record like they did? I don't know yet, but it's still got time, but they have to start now if they have any chance of doing it.
I agree. RC, you a champ, bro. He says the Bears got about as much a chance of winning as a brand new box of ice cream sitting in Haiti. That's a beautiful line right there, bro. He says, look, I may take the Saints because the Bucs got exposed yesterday. The Bucs who we thought they were up against real competition. The middling Bucs do beat poor teams, though, so they got a chance. I agree. And then he says, oh, look, maybe someone the funky Vikings can finally beat. And yes, I'm with you, RC. That's a team that the funky Vikings can finally beat, because I think they will. Another Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff, the last one we're going to touch on. The Steelers are favored by 3.5 on the road against the Texans. The Steelers are 2-1. The Texans are 1-2. Who do you have, sir?
It's going to be a tough contest for this one when it comes to the Houston Texans coming into this one compared to last week. I don't think that they're going to be able to beat down the Steelers like they did in this past weekend, just based on what we saw what the Steelers did as well. It's going to be pretty close. I feel like the Steelers win this game, though. I don't know by what score. I just feel like it's going to be a little bit tighter than expected, but I feel like the Steelers win this one.
Yeah. You would think that I would be saying, okay, well, they might be booed. The Texans might be buoyed by the win in Jacksonville. The strength of the Steelers goes against one of the biggest weaknesses of the Texans. The defensive front, especially the pass rusher extraordinaire TJ Watt, going against that offensive line of the Texans. As Shaq would say, barbecue chicken, Steelers all day. All right, Sunday, 4 or 5 p.m. kickoff. The Seahawks are favored by 6. I'm sorry, the Chargers are favored by 6 as they host the Raiders. Both teams are 1-2. Who do you have, sir?
I have the Raiders in this one, actually, because the Chargers did pull off the victory this past week, but I feel like the Raiders got embarrassed enough that they know that if Jimmy G throws 3 more interceptions, it's not going to cut it. And I think Jimmy G knows that too, that he's on thin ice if he keeps playing that way. He's going to tighten some things up. The Raiders are going to win this game.
Let me see. Who does Brandon say they coach for? Raiders. All right. The Cowboys. Oh, but the official reason is I think the Raiders will tighten things up, and I just don't think the Chargers have anything other than Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen to really sustain what they do. Yeah, you can say Joey Bosa, but have we actually seen him perform this year yet? Not really. So, Raiders. The Cowboys, they host the Patriots. They're licking their wounds from the desert. The Patriots are celebrating their first win against the Jets, which that's a familiar theme with them. They haven't lost against them since 2015. Kickoff is 4:25 in Arlington. The Cowboys are favored by a touchdown. Who do you have, sir?
They are also favored this past weekend, and we saw what happened against the Cardinals.
That's
I think we got a pretty decent shot of seeing both teams at 2-2 by the end of this weekend. But and that would be another upset of the weekend. However, I feel like, you know, the Cowboys came into that game this past weekend a little bit too cocky. You saw all Dakota Prescott smiling and all that stuff, acting like a jack you-know-what on the sideline before the game even started, talking smack. And he got humbled. And it was a good thing that if the Cowboys are going to go on a run this year and are that team they talked about all offseason, it's a good thing they learned this lesson early on in the season instead of getting too far on. With that being said, I feel like the Patriots dropped to 1-3. Belichick will be in the hot seat, and the Cowboys will be 3-1 at the end of this weekend.
I think the humbling in the desert will make the Cowboys actually pay attention to an opponent. They should have paid attention to the Cardinals. They'll pay attention to the Patriots. I think the Cowboys will go up to 3-1. I'm not rooting for it, but I think that's what's going to happen. 49ers, who are 3-0, they are hosting the Cardinals, who are 1-2, 4:25 p.m. kickoff. The 49ers are favored by 14. Now, who do you have, sir?
For certain fans out there of the 49ers who take things a little bit too far, and it's not just one, there's multiple ones out there. The 49ers fans have turned into the Dallas Cowboy fans of recent because you got your savior, Brock Purdy. Well, congratulations. Congratulations. Brock Purdy has been playing pretty well. Now, I can't just hand the keys completely on over to him at this point because the Cardinals just humbled the Cowboys. And this situation right here, if there's any team that's going to truly humble the 49ers after the way they played last year, and they think the only way they didn't go as far as they could have last year is because Brock got hurt. Well, I feel like this situation right here is going to be what humbles them because you're playing a team in the Arizona Cardinals that we just talked about earlier, when if you had Kyler Murray in there, the rest of that team is built around him and the success that they could have. And you got Josh Dobbs going in there doing a decent job and not even throwing 200 yards and getting wins because the rest of the team around you is carrying the slack. I think and deservingly so, to some of these 49er fans out here who need to do us all a favor and shut up, because you need to learn how to win and not brag about it every single week, because just because you're winning doesn't mean you're the greatest, because there's other teams out there that are better than you. You deserve to lose this weekend to get humbled. I think the Cardinals have a good chance of winning, but unfortunately they won't, and San Francisco will win this game.
Yeah, the Cardinals, I think they have the fight. They just don't have the horses. So, yeah, I go with the 49ers too. It's unfortunate, but yeah, I think that's what it's going to be too. Sunday night game, which was going to be spectacular and absolutely awesome, now is going to be an absolute dog walk as the Chiefs go into the Meadowlands to play the New York Jets. The Chiefs are 2-1. The Jets are 1-2. The Chiefs are favored by 9.5. Should I even ask who you have in this game? That's what I thought. Monday night, 8:15 kickoff. Chiefs, both Drew and I. Monday night, the Giants are 1-2 in the Meadowlands again. They will face off against the Seahawks at 2-1. 8:15 kickoff on Monday night. The Seahawks are favored by 1.5. Who do you have?
Seahawks keep playing like they have been. They're doing well enough to definitely get another win this upcoming week, especially against the Giants. It's time that the Giants fall again. The Seahawks will win this game.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks will be 3-1. I don't think the Giants have anything for them, especially if Saquon Barkley is not on the team. I mean, if he's not suited up and playing. If he's there, then they would definitely have a fighter's chance. But nah, and of course my mentality brother is a huge Giants fan, but he knows I keep it real just like he does. They just don't have the horses, and it's unfortunate. They're going to go down again, probably in embarrassing fashion, not 40-0, but I think they'll go down in embarrassing fashion to the Seahawks in the Meadowlands. Well, that is the finish of the 2-minute drill, but there's one more thing we have to take care of.
Total football talk.
As long as it's one. Oh, that's great. I love it. I hope it actually is recording.
And now we've come to the post game. This is where we have our final say of what has taken place and what is about to take place in the next week. And for the final thoughts, I will give the floor to Drew.
I know some of you are probably going to say that with one of my last takes that some shots were fired. No, they technically were not. It was not against an individual. Yes, Wise El Jefe, this one is directed towards you, my man, because it was not a shot fired at one particular person, but as a fan base, because you 49er fans they get the win. Oh, yeah, we got the win. We're the number one team. And you're flipping out, okay? That's how I see it when I read your post. All flamboyant, like you get the dub. Oh, we're going to the Super Bowl. Oh, we're going to do this. And then you lose. And you lose in the playoffs, okay? Jimmy G didn't get it done for you. Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. You got good hopes there. But I'm getting tired of every time you win. Oh, gang baby! And flip it out every single time. Every single time. Did I say it was a certain person? No, you did not. I answered your question before it came up on the screen. You did not. But that's how I see the fan base as a whole flipping out every time they get a win, no matter how great or how horrible it is. Until you win a Super Bowl. Sit down. Pipe down. Everything will be okay at some point, but it is not your time yet. And that is my final thought for that show. And just said shots for I know you did, but I had to establish something because there are snowflakes out there who will take things a certain way, and I don't want to upset anybody any more than they already are trying to make decisions out here because it's been too long. It's time to make the right decision. Get on or get out.
So he's taking shots at an Eagles fan He's already taking shots at the Giants fan. He now is taking shots at the 49ers fan. Oh, goodness. Okay. Goodness gracious. Okay. Mr. Justin Fields, sir, you are an NFL quarterback. Your job is to be the point guard football-wise. Your job is to bring the other 10 on the field that's with you up to another level. It is not your position to have the other 10 do for you. No, you're supposed to do for them. That is what the mark of a leader is. You serve the others, not have the others serve you. And that is how you want to play this game. I mean, otherwise, how would you say something to the effect of, and yes, I'll paraphrase, I just haven't been able to play my style of game. I gotta play my way. And I feel like I'm robotic out there. Really? Really? Look, your job is not to take the ball on the center if you do go on the center, or take the shotgun, drop back 2 or 3 steps, and then you take off and run the first hole you see. No, your job is to look downfield to see if there is an opportunity to throw to your receiver or tight end or halfback or fullback that is in the open field. That is your job, or to hand off to said running back or wide receiver or fullback. And occasionally you run. But no, your job isn't to be a running back clothed in quarterback's clothing. No, your job is to be quarterback. So when you want one-sheeters like offensive coordinators have, no, you should beg for a Harry Potter novel-sized playbook, so you can actually prove to your team that you can learn from A to Z everything that the organization wants you to run. It will get to the point you can actually tell the center where to move on a dive. You can tell the tight end what to do on a sweep. You can actually tell everybody else what their position is supposed to do, not give a crap about what they do, but you pray that one of the 10 opens up a hole for you. You got more to do than just look cute and say, I am a hybrid quarterback. No. You're being a hybrid dumpster pelican, man. Come on. Come on. Get real, son. Learn how to play quarterback in the NFL. You'll be much better off.
As long as it's one. It's great. I love it. I hope it actually is recording. Listening to it.
That's how he feels. That's a shame. You know doggone well if Danny Dimes said that Wise, you wouldn't like that. That's how he feels. And Mickey says the 49ers fans need to slow their roll there and stay in their lane.
They really do, because I'm getting tired of seeing it. Every single time they win, it's like, come on. If you have to flip out that much because your team won, then you've got to reevaluate things going on outside of football.
Well, I'll shut my mouth. All right. Is there anything else? Is there anything else you would like to say to our wonderful Total Football Talk audience before we go?
You guys have been crushing it today. In all 4 episodes. This is now the 4th straight week we've had this show. And you guys, every week, it makes the show more interesting. That's why I was telling Cole earlier when we were talking about, we were having some technical difficulties. When it comes to, we were having some technical difficulties earlier. We almost couldn't go live today. We almost had to record it and then repost it. But that changed the dynamic of the show because you guys amp me up more. And I know you do with Cole as well, not to try to speak for him, but you amp me up more with the comments and helping us with the flow throughout. It makes it even more interesting. If it's more interesting to us and we can show it as a reflection on the show, and it just makes it even better. So you guys being part of this show makes it better. So from me and from Cole, thank you each and every week for being here, because that's why we do it. It's for you, not for us.
Yes, you all are awesome. I cannot say that any better. Thank you, Drew, for saying that. And yes, I'm Gold Johnson. I approve that message. So yes, I agree. Thank you. And thank you, Wise. I'm glad, brother. I'm glad that you approve, because that is a big vote of confidence coming from you, man.
Thank you.
So I appreciate it. That's my brother saying that. I appreciate that. Much love to you, man.
I got to beg one thing, though. I got to beg one thing before we roll out.
Okay.
Guys, it has been 6-7 weeks since my baby has been on the air. I'm begging you. I'm begging you tonight. Please be there at 9:35 p.m. Eastern time to tune in for episode 101 of the In or Out Sports.
In or Outs tonight.
If
yes.
you are a professional wrestling fan, this is all in a complete all pro wrestling edition. All 5 rounds will be pro wrestling related tonight for episode 101. Next week, we get back to sports based all around for the show. But if you like pro wrestling, there's going to be some fire, heavy hidden action tonight with Brandon Guy of the Wrestling Realm. Tonight, we will finally complete the circle of all members of the Wrestling Realm being part of the In or Out Sports Debate at 9:35 Eastern time.
Well, In or Out's back. You heard it from the man who runs it. I'm happy to hear that, because that's one of my favorite. And I'm not saying it because he's here. I really do mean that. It's one of my favorite shows from any content creator. So I'm glad it's back, and I'm glad it's back in full force. And man, all wrestling edition, that's even better. Oh man. Okay. Well, yeah. I might be like Wise. I might have to stay up on that. And Mickey says I'll be all over that. Drew. Yeah.
Thanks, Mick. Thanks, Wise. I appreciate it, fellas.
Oh man, but look, thank you for liking, thank you for sharing, thank you for subscribing, and thank you for hitting that notification bell so you can catch any and all content like what my brother just said, In or Out tonight on Sotoba Media's YouTube channel, and any other content that emanates from that channel or the Comey Media YouTube channel, because we just had the most recent episode of Mentality debut yesterday. So understand the stuff is coming, and next week. Tune in. Wise in the AM's coming, and it's gonna come with some heat from yours truly too. So watch out for that as well.
He had a nice little preview last night too. I was able to catch that a little bit. I will admit I have not had a chance to check Mentality yet. That is going to actually be on my plate for after I get through In or Out tonight. So I'll check it out, because I always love that content. You and Wise, he talks about us throwing the fire. I love the fire, and especially as many bleeps as you can possibly give Wise El Jefe. That makes that show even more interesting when and you just got to guess what what he's saying, but guessing what the bleep is, that's my favorite game from watching Mentality. Figuring out what my man said behind the bleep.
I love you, bro. Oh man. You make this fun, and I appreciate you and all that you do. Oh man, for Drew Willingham or D Willie, I am Cole Johnson, here to say in parting as we always do. In life, just like a tackle, keep your head up. And always remember, you got to play until the whistle blows. So long, everybody. And if you want to catch anything on the social medias for Drew, you see it right there. All of it's there waiting for you. And if you want to catch me, all you have to do is go to flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. So thank you so much.
I'm going to get on it. I'm going to get on it. I need to simplify it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to try. It's just me out here in these streets. Give me some time. It's been a rough year. I'll get on that flow code. Give me like another week or two. I promise. And then we can update that graphic right there.
That's okay. That's okay. Oh my gosh. We're out of here. We'll see you next week. We love you guys.